If you experience tightness on the side of your hip, specifically anywhere where the top of this pelvis bone is, all the way down to where this bone is right here, then it's probably something to do with your TFL muscle, or tensor fascia lata for short. Humans have a tendency to be biased towards a state of anterior pelvic tilt, where this pelvis is tipped forward in space. And this is not inherently bad, but for some people, it can be associated with some issues. Because this muscle creates hip flexion and internal rotation of the femur, this muscle has leverage to act as a compensatory muscle of internal rotation, where other internal rotation muscles aren't going to work as well because this pelvis is stuck in a position of hip flexion. It's very common for people to want to foam roll or stretch this muscle out, but that often just gives temporary relief. What I found to be a better long-term solution, as I discussed in my courses and my beginner body restoration program, is that we can facilitate the inverse joint actions. What I mean by that is taking this pelvis that's in this internally rotated and hip flexed state and put it in more of a position of hip extension and external rotation, and facilitate the muscles that help do that, which should help inhibit this overactive TFL muscle. To set up for this, we need a bench or a couch, whatever works, as long as it's nice and comfortable. We can keep our feet and a little bit of our shin and ankle on it. And we have about a 45-degree bend at our hips. And we're gonna start with our low back flat on the ground, whole back's flat, and we're gonna have our heels and the back of our ankles and lower shin on this bench here. And our knees are going to be turned out to the side. Toes are also going to be turned out to the side. So to start, what we're going to do is, keeping our low back flat on the ground, we're going to squeeze our glutes and come off of the ground just a little bit in a little bit of that posterior pelvic tilt, and we should feel our glutes engage on both sides. Now, as we exhale, we're going to maintain that glute contraction and bring the knees and the feet together very slowly, very controlled. Get the full, long, soft exhale. At the end of the exhale, go ahead, inhale through your nose, come back. And this is going to allow you to feel your glute med, your outside hip muscle behind the TFL working instead of the TFL itself. So we should be feeling the glute max muscle working the whole time, and the muscle just in front of that. Not the TFL where this bone is, but it should be just behind that, and we should sync up our breath with this. So inhale nice and slow through your nose out, exhale through your mouth nice and slow, bringing your feet and knees together, nice and controlled like that. The only thing to look out for on this exercise is not to dig down into the bench too much with your heels, because then you're going to feel a lot more hamstring than glute. Make sure that hip extension, that tuck, is coming from your glutes. So have it be like a squeeze from your glutes up rather than a digging down into the bench. If you're still having trouble with your hamstrings taking over, think about just keeping your ankles nice and relaxed. That's a nice cue that works to keep your hamstrings off and your glutes on more. Another way you can do this is get in this position right here, where you have about a 45-degree bend at your hips and you have your feet flat on a surface that is about 2 to 3, max 4 inches tall. So now all you're going to do is more or less the same exact thing. So you're going to do a little glute squeeze, get your hips slightly off the ground, inhale, knees go out, roll the outside of your feet real slow and controlled, only go as far as you can without feeling that TFL, just the glute med or outside hip region behind that hip bone. Then exhale, roll the inside of your feet really slow and controlled. Make sure you tempo it and you feel your glutes throughout.